Imagine one of the world's largest car makers struggling to survive. That's the reality facing Stellantis, a giant in the global automotive industry. Formed from the merger of Fiat Chrysler and France's PSA Group, Stellantis has been a cornerstone of European car production. Yet, in 2024, it hit rock bottom with car production in Italy dropping to a 68-year low. This alarming statistic, a 37% plunge from 2023, highlights not just a crisis for Stellantis, but also a much larger issue plaguing Europe's automotive sector. Today, we're diving into how Stellantis got here, why China's rise is a big part of the problem, and what this means for Europe's car industry. Let's start with the numbers. Stellantis produced just over 475,000 cars in Italy in 2024, down from 751,000 the year before. To put it in perspective, these are the lowest production numbers Italy has seen in nearly 7 decades. It's not just a dip, it's a freefall. What caused this dramatic decline? For starters, Stellantis, like other European automakers, is facing immense pressure from multiple fronts. The global EV revolution has upended the traditional automotive market. While consumers initially embraced electric vehicles, many are now showing signs of EV fatigue, sparking renewed interest in hybrids. This shift in consumer sentiment has left companies like Stellantis scrambling to adapt. At the same time, global consumption is slowing. Even in major markets like China, which had been a key growth driver for the auto industry, demand is cooling. For European automakers that relied heavily on exports to China, this slowdown has been a massive blow. And let's not forget the fierce competition. Established players like Tesla and a wave of cost-effective Chinese automakers are dominating the EV space, making it harder for companies like Stellantis to keep up. China has emerged as the epicenter of global car production, and this is no coincidence. With its ability to manufacture vehicles at nearly half the cost of Europe, China has become the go-to hub for automakers looking to cut expenses. By 2030, it's projected that China could produce 75% of the world's vehicles. That's not just dominance, it's near total control. Stellantis is not immune to this trend. Like many global automakers, it has invested heavily in China. But here's the twist. While Chinese automakers like BYD, Geely, and NEO are thriving, Western automakers are struggling to find their footing. Stellantis production woes are a stark example of how difficult it has become for European companies to compete in a market increasingly dominated by Chinese brands and manufacturing prowess. Adding to the complexity is China's grip on the EV supply chain. From mining raw materials to producing batteries, China controls a significant portion of the components needed to make electric vehicles. This dominance puts Western automakers at a disadvantage, forcing them to rely on Chinese suppliers even as they try to compete with Chinese brands. For Stellantis, the situation is dire. Its reliance on traditional manufacturing models is proving to be a liability in a world rapidly shifting toward electrification and automation. The company's hybrid strategy, trying to balance internal combustion engines, hybrids, and electric vehicles, has left it stretched thin. Instead of excelling in one area, Stellantis is struggling to keep up in all of them. Meanwhile, competition from Chinese automakers is heating up. Brands like BYD and Shanghai Automotive Industry Corporation are not only producing high-quality electric vehicles, but also offering them at prices that European manufacturers can't match. For instance, BYD's models are already making waves in European markets, offering advanced features at a fraction of the cost of comparable Western-made vehicles. Stellantis is also grappling with internal challenges. The merger that created the company was meant to bring stability and scale, but it has also resulted in inefficiencies and conflicts between its various brands. Fiat, Peugeot, Chrysler, each has its own identity and market strategy, making it difficult for Stellantis to present a unified front. Stellantis' struggles are not an isolated incident. They're part of a larger crisis facing Europe's automotive sector. German giants like Volkswagen and BMW are also feeling the heat, as are French manufacturers like Renault. The problem isn't just competition from China, it's also a failure to adapt quickly enough to a changing market. European automakers have long relied on their reputation for quality and innovation, but in the age of electric vehicles, those qualities are no longer enough. Chinese manufacturers have caught up, offering comparable quality at much lower prices. Add to that the speed and efficiency of Chinese production, and it's clear why Europe is struggling to keep pace. Another issue is the regulatory environment. Europe's strict emission standards have forced automakers to invest heavily in green technologies, which has driven up costs. While this is a necessary step for combating climate change, it has also put European companies at a disadvantage compared to Chinese automakers, who benefit from substantial government subsidies and a more lenient regulatory framework. The result? Job losses, declining market share, and a growing sense of uncertainty about the future of Europe's auto industry. In Germany alone, tens of thousands of jobs have been lost in the automotive sector over the past year. If this trend continues, the economic fallout could be devastating. The big question is, what's next? Can Stellantis and Europe's auto industry bounce back, or are they destined to fall further behind? One potential solution is innovation. European automakers need to double down on developing cutting-edge technologies that set them apart from their Chinese competitors. This includes investing in next-generation battery technology, autonomous driving systems, and sustainable manufacturing practices. Another key strategy is diversification. Relying solely on traditional markets like Europe and China is no longer viable. Companies need to explore emerging markets in regions like Southeast Asia, Africa, and South America, where demand for vehicles is still growing. Collaboration could also play a role. Partnerships between European and Chinese automakers might help bridge the gap, allowing both sides to benefit from each other's strengths. For Stellantis, this could mean leveraging its existing relationships in China to secure access to critical resources and technologies. Finally, there's the role of government policy. European leaders need to recognize the challenges facing their automotive industry and take action to support it. This could include offering subsidies for EV production, investing in infrastructure like charging networks, and implementing trade policies that level the playing field with China. As someone who's been closely following the automotive industry, I believe this is a wake-up call for Europe and the West as a whole. The stakes are incredibly high. If companies like Stellantis can't adapt, we risk losing not just jobs and revenue, but also the technological leadership that has defined the West's automotive industry for decades. It's time for bold action. Policymakers, businesses, and consumers all have a role to play in shaping the future of this industry. By investing in innovation, supporting local manufacturing, and diversifying supply chains, we can create a more resilient and competitive automotive sector. The road ahead won't be easy, but it's a journey worth taking. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the challenges facing Stellantis and Europe's car industry. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like and share it. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Stellantis can turn things around, or is China's dominance inevitable? I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next video.